Welcome to a new era in women's health and fitness, where science finally meets the unique needs of the female body. For too long, women have been given advice based on male physiology, ignoring the powerful influence of hormones. Today, with experts like Dr. Stacy leading the way, we're moving beyond generic recommendations to evidence-based strategies tailored for women. This conversation is about empowering women to optimize health, performance, and longevity by understanding their own biology. Let's dive into the science and practical tools that will help every woman thrive. Most health and fitness advice is based on studies done in men, leaving women with protocols that often don't work, or worse, backfire. Dr. Stacy has exposed the flaws in this approach, showing that women's bodies respond differently to everything from fasting to high-intensity training. For example, intermittent fasting may benefit men, but it can disrupt hormones and performance in active women. The key is recognizing that while some principles are universal, women need protocols that respect their unique physiology. It's time to move past male-centric advice and embrace female-specific health optimization. Women's bodies are built for endurance, with more oxidative muscle fibers and a natural ability to burn fat efficiently. Standard advice like fasted training can actually increase stress and disrupt hormones in women, leading to poor recovery and health issues. The female brain's unique kisspeptin system is highly sensitive to energy availability. Without proper fuel, hormonal balance quickly unravels. Instead of toughing it out, women should fuel smartly to support both performance and well-being. Working with, not against female physiology, is the path to lasting results. Personalized fueling is a game-changer for women. Just a small amount of protein or carbs before training can prevent stress and protect muscle. This isn't about calories in, calories out, it's about sending the right signals to the brain and hormones. Especially as women age, strategic pre-workout nutrition becomes essential to hit the right training intensities and avoid burnout. Ditch the myth of fasted workouts. Timely fueling is the foundation for adaptation, recovery, and body composition. Smart, individualized protocols are not just better, they're necessary. Women's hormones shift daily, monthly, and across the lifespan, shaping everything from energy use to stress response. Female bodies are already primed for fat metabolism and endurance, making many fat-burning strategies unnecessary or even harmful. Pre-workout nutrition isn't about carb loading. It's about assuring the brain that energy is available, preventing stress and supporting muscle growth. Understanding and embracing this hormonal blueprint unlocks new levels of strength, resilience, and health. When women work with their biology, they move from frustration to empowerment at every stage of life. At the heart of female physiology lies estrogen, a hormone often narrowly associated with reproduction, but whose influence extends far beyond the reproductive system. In the context of fitness and nutrition, estrogen is a powerful anabolic, or muscle-building hormone for women. It plays a role analogous to testosterone in men, albeit through different mechanisms. Estrogen enhances muscle protein synthesis, helping to repair and build lean tissue after a workout. It also improves insulin sensitivity, which means the body is more efficient at using carbohydrates for energy and shuttling nutrients into muscle cells. During the first half of the menstrual cycle, the follicular phase, when estrogen levels are rising and eventually peak, women are physiologically primed for peak performance. This is the time when they are often at their strongest, can recover more quickly, and can make the most significant gains in strength and power. Estrogen's influence on metabolism is equally profound. It promotes the use of fatty acids as a primary fuel source, which contributes to women's natural endurance advantage. This effect helps spare precious muscle glycogen, delaying fatigue during prolonged exercise. Furthermore, estrogen has a neuroprotective effect, influencing neurotransmitter levels in the brain, which can impact mood, motivation, and pain perception. It even plays a role in bone health, promoting the activity of osteoblasts, the cells responsible for building new bone tissue. Recognizing the power of estrogen is crucial for periodizing training. By aligning high-intensity workouts and heavy lifting with the high estrogen phase of their cycle, women can capitalize on this natural physiological advantage, pushing their limits and seeing better results for their efforts. However, the benefits of estrogen are not without their complexities. While it aids in muscle repair, it can also make ligaments and tendons more lax, potentially increasing the risk of certain injuries like ACL tears around the time of ovulation when estrogen is at its peak. This doesn't mean women should avoid training during this time, but it does underscore the importance of proper warm-ups, focusing on technique, and being mindful of joint stability. It's another example of how understanding the subtle shifts in physiology allows for smarter, safer training. Knowledge of estrogen's effects allows a woman to be more attuned to her body, knowing when to push hard and when to prioritize stability and control, optimizing her training throughout the entire month. This master hormone also impacts hydration and body temperature regulation. Estrogen shifts the body's fluid balance, which can affect plasma volume and the body's ability to cool itself efficiently through sweating. This is particularly relevant for endurance athletes or anyone exercising in hot conditions. During the high estrogen phase, a woman's core temperature might be slightly lower, and she may be better able to dissipate heat. Understanding these nuances helps in tailoring hydration strategies and being prepared for performance in different environments. Ultimately, viewing estrogen not as a monthly inconvenience but as a powerful ally in performance is a game changer. It allows women to harness their own biology to become stronger, faster, and more resilient athletes. If estrogen is the star player of the first half of the menstrual cycle, progesterone takes center stage in the second half, known as the luteal phase. Following ovulation, progesterone levels rise, and this hormone acts as a counterbalance to estrogen, preparing the body for a potential pregnancy. While essential for the reproductive cycle, progesterone's effects on athletic performance and metabolism can be challenging. One of its primary actions is to promote catabolism, or the breakdown of tissue. This means it can counteract some of estrogen's muscle-building benefits, making it slightly harder to build and maintain lean mass during this phase. It essentially increases the rate of muscle protein breakdown, so post-exercise recovery and protein intake become even more critical. Progesterone also has a significant impact on the body's core temperature and respiratory system. During the high progesterone luteal phase, a woman's basal body temperature increases by about half a degree Celsius. This might seem minor, but it means she starts exercising from a higher baseline temperature, making it harder to stay cool, especially during intense or long-duration activity in the heat. The time to exhaustion can be shorter, and the perception of effort can feel higher. Progesterone also acts as a respiratory stimulant, increasing breathing rate. While this ensures adequate oxygen delivery, it can also increase the subjective feeling of breathlessness during hard efforts. The metabolic shifts induced by progesterone further complicate matters. It can decrease insulin sensitivity, making the body slightly more resistant to the effects of insulin. This means the body is less efficient at using carbohydrates for fuel. Compounding this, progesterone can make it more difficult for the body to access stored glycogen. The result is that a woman might feel more sluggish and have less pop or power for high-intensity efforts. This is often the time when women report feeling bloated, lethargic, and unmotivated to train hard. It's not a lack of willpower, it's a direct physiological response to the dominant hormonal signal. Understanding these impacts is not a reason to stop training but rather a call to adjust the training strategy. The high progesterone phase is not the ideal time to chase personal bests in high-intensity training. Instead, the focus can shift to steady-state aerobic work, technical skill development, and mobility. It's about managing expectations and being kind to your body. Ensuring adequate hydration and sodium intake becomes paramount to combat the fluid shifts and increased core temperature. By strategically timing protein intake around workouts, women can mitigate the catabolic effects of progesterone. This intelligent adaptation allows for consistent training throughout the month, respecting the body's signals and optimizing for long-term progress. The intricate connection between a woman's brain and her body is exquisitely sensitive, and nowhere is this more apparent than in its response to stress. A key player in this communication network is a peptide called kisspeptin. In the hypothalamus, the brain's command center for hormonal regulation, kisspeptin neurons act as master regulators of the entire reproductive axis. As we've noted, a crucial difference exists between sexes. Men have one primary cluster of these neurons while women have two distinct clusters. This isn't just a trivial anatomical detail, it is the biological basis for why women are so much more sensitive to energy deficits and stress. One cluster in the female brain influences appetite and luteinizing hormone pulse, which drives the menstrual cycle, while the other modulates estrogen and thyroid function. This dual system creates a heightened level of surveillance over the body's energy status. When a woman combines the stress of daily life with the physical stress of exercise, especially without adequate nutritional support, it sends a powerful alarm signal to these kisspeptin neurons. The brain interprets this energy drain as a threat to survival and by extension to reproductive capability. In response, it can downregulate the activity of these neurons. This is a protective mechanism designed to conserve energy in times of perceived famine or danger. However, in the context of modern life and fitness goals, this response can be highly disruptive. The downregulation can lead to a suppressed LH pulse, which can cause menstrual irregularities or even the complete loss of a period known as hypothalamic amenorrhea. It can also negatively impact thyroid function, slowing down metabolism and contributing to fatigue and weight gain. This explains why strategies like prolonged intermittent fasting and fasted training can be so detrimental for many active women. These practices create a state of low energy availability, which is precisely the signal that perturbs the kisspeptin system. The body doesn't distinguish between intentional fasting for health and an actual food shortage. The physiological response is the same. A cascade of stress hormones, primarily cortisol, is released. For women, this sustained elevation in cortisol, driven by a brain that senses an energy crisis, can directly interfere with the delicate balance of reproductive and metabolic hormones. It creates a vicious cycle where the pursuit of health through diet and exercise inadvertently undermines the very systems it's meant to support. Therefore, fueling for the work required is not just about performance, it's about maintaining the integrity of this crucial brain-body communication pathway. Providing the body with adequate energy, particularly around training sessions, reassures the hypothalamus that all is well. It keeps the kisspeptin neurons firing as they should, supporting a healthy menstrual cycle, robust thyroid function, and a balanced stress response. This is a fundamental principle of female physiology. The female body must feel safe and well-fed to thrive. By understanding and respecting this deep-seated biological imperative, women can design nutrition and training plans that build them up, rather than break them down, fostering a state of true health from the inside out. As a woman enters her 40s, she begins a new and often misunderstood chapter of her hormonal life, perimenopause. This transition, which can last for several years leading up to menopause, is characterized not by a simple decline in hormones, but by erratic and unpredictable fluctuations. Estrogen and progesterone levels can swing wildly from high to low, creating a chaotic internal environment. This hormonal turbulence is the root cause of many classic perimenopausal symptoms, including irregular cycles, hot flashes, sleep disturbances, and mood swings. From a fitness perspective, this phase presents a unique set of challenges. The anabolic, muscle-building signals from estrogen become unreliable, while baseline levels of the stress hormone cortisol begin to creep upwards, making it easier to store abdominal fat and harder to build or even maintain lean muscle mass. The old rules of training and nutrition simply no longer apply. Continuing with the same workout routine that worked in one's 20s or 30s often leads to frustration, fatigue, and a lack of results. During perimenopause, the body becomes more resistant to the stimuli that once prompted adaptation. This is known as anabolic resistance, meaning that both exercise and protein intake need to be more potent to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Moderate intensity exercise, the go-to for many, becomes a gray zone that provides insufficient stimulus for positive change while still contributing to the overall stress load and elevated cortisol. To break through this resistance, training must become polarized. It needs to be either truly high intensity or dedicated low intensity recovery. This is where lifting heavy becomes non-negotiable. High intensity resistance training, focusing on compound movements like squats, deadlifts, and presses with loads that are challenging for a low number of repetitions, say 3 to 6 reps, provides the powerful neuromuscular stimulus needed to combat anabolic resistance. This type of training tells the central nervous system to recruit more muscle fibers and sends a strong signal for muscle growth and maintenance. Similarly, high-intensity interval training and sprint interval training become crucial tools. These short bursts of all-out effort, followed by recovery, are incredibly effective at improving insulin sensitivity, boosting growth hormone, and managing cortisol, all of which are critical during this life stage. Nutritional strategies must also adapt significantly. The increased anabolic resistance means that the protein requirements go up. The timing and dose of protein become paramount, aiming for 40 grams or more of high-quality protein, particularly rich in the amino acid leucine, after a workout is essential to kickstart the muscle-building process. Spreading protein intake evenly throughout the day, with around 30 to 40 grams per meal, helps to maintain a constant anabolic signal. This isn't about dieting or restriction, it's about strategic fueling to support the body's changing needs. By embracing heavy lifting, polarized training, and a protein-forward nutritional approach, women can not only navigate the challenges of perimenopause but emerge from it stronger, leaner, and more powerful than before. While the focus of our discussion is on the specific needs of women, it is essential to acknowledge the foundational principles of exercise science and nutrition that are universal to all humans. The laws of thermodynamics, the importance of progressive overload for building strength, and the need for adequate recovery are truths that apply regardless of sex. Both men and women benefit from a balanced diet rich in whole foods, sufficient hydration, and quality sleep. The need to challenge our muscles to make them stronger and our cardiovascular system to make it more efficient is a shared biological imperative. These universals form the bedrock upon which any effective training and nutrition program is built. However, where we diverge is in the application and modulation of these principles based on the distinct hormonal realities we've explored. The critical divergence begins with the baseline stress response and energy sensitivity. As we've established, the female body, guided by its intricate kisspeptin network, operates with a much narrower margin for error when it comes to energy availability. This makes practices like aggressive fasting and chronic underfueling far more perilous for women, risking hormonal disruption that simply does not occur with the same ease in men. For men, a fasted workout might be an effective tool for tapping into fat stores with minimal downside. For women, it can be a direct pathway to elevated cortisol, muscle breakdown, and endocrine dysfunction. This is not a difference in willpower or discipline. It is a fundamental difference in physiological wiring that demands a more nuanced approach to meal timing and energy intake for women. Another key area of divergence is in nutrient timing and composition, particularly concerning protein. While both men and women need protein to recover and build muscle, the female body's response to it changes dramatically with age. The onset of perimenopause and menopause brings with it anabolic resistance, meaning women need a higher dose of protein, especially the amino acid leucine, to stimulate the same muscle-building response as a younger woman or a man of the same age. A 20-gram protein shake that might be sufficient for a man post-workout could be completely inadequate for a 50-year-old woman. This necessitates a more targeted and aggressive protein strategy for aging women to preserve metabolic health and functional strength. Ultimately, the most significant divergence is the need for periodization, not just in training, but in life. For men, training can be structured around a relatively linear progression. For women in their reproductive years, the optimal approach involves periodizing training and nutrition around the menstrual cycle, capitalizing on the high estrogen phase for intense efforts and adjusting for the high progesterone phase. As women transition into perimenopause and menopause, the periodization shifts to accommodate the new hormonal landscape, prioritizing heavy lifting and polarized training. Recognizing these critical divergences is the key to unlocking female potential. It's about taking the universal truths of science and filtering them through the lens of female physiology to create a truly personalized and profoundly effective path to lifelong health and fitness. The wellness world is, honestly, just saturated with glowing testimonials for intermittent fasting, promising everything from enhanced metabolic flexibility to improved longevity. These claims, however, are built on a foundation of research that has predominantly used male subjects, creating a dangerous fallacy for women. The short answer to whether these fasting protocols work for women is a firm no, unless there is a specific clinical reason, such as polycystic ovary syndrome or PCOS. The reason for this stark difference lies in women's innate physiology. Women are already more metabolically flexible than men, a direct result of having a higher proportion of oxidative muscle fibers. These fibers are designed for endurance and are incredibly efficient at using fat for fuel, meaning women do not need to force their bodies into a fasted state to achieve this benefit. Forcing the female body into a prolonged fast, especially when combined with the demands of an active lifestyle, does not enhance this natural advantage. It actually undermines it. Instead of promoting health, it triggers a significant stress response. The body perceives this lack of fuel as a threat, a signal of scarcity that elevates the stress hormone cortisol. This hormonal shift is not a minor side effect. It is a central physiological event that can have cascading negative consequences. It disrupts the delicate balance of the endocrine system, putting the body into a state of preservation rather than performance and adaptation. For women, who are biologically wired to be more sensitive to energy availability, this imposed stress can be particularly detrimental to their long-term health and fitness goals. The promise of fasting often includes benefits like improved parasympathetic activation, the so-called rest and digest state that promotes recovery. However, for women, the opposite often occurs. The increased cortisol from fasting keeps the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, chronically activated. This leaves women feeling tired but wired, struggling to relax and recover effectively. They're pushing their bodies into a state of high alert, making it harder to achieve the very calmness and recovery that fasting proponents claim to offer. This creates a paradox where the tool intended to reduce stress actually becomes a significant source of it, working directly against the body's natural rhythms and needs. Ultimately, the fasting fallacy for women is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of female physiology. It takes a strategy that may be effective for a male-centric model and applies it without considering the profound biological differences. Women hear about the purported benefits and feel they are missing out, but the reality is that their bodies are already optimized in ways that fasting aims to achieve. By engaging in these practices, they're not unlocking new potential, they're creating an unnecessary and harmful internal conflict. The key is to move away from these generic ill-fitting trends and towards an approach that honors and supports the unique biological landscape of the female body. To navigate the conversation around fasting, it is crucial to deconstruct the terminology and understand the distinct differences between popular approaches. True intermittent fasting typically involves extended periods without food, such as a 20-hour fast or skipping meals until noon or later. This is the model that often proves most problematic for active women. On the other hand, we have time-restricted eating, which is simply a structured way of eating in alignment with our natural circadian rhythms. This involves consuming all meals during daylight hours, starting with breakfast and finishing your last meal in the early evening. This approach is not about severe restriction, but about timing your nutrition to support your body's internal clock. The research is beginning to reflect the importance of this distinction. Studies are now showing that the timing of the eating window is just as important, if not more so, than its duration. For both men and women, protocols involving prolonged fasts until noon, followed by an eating window from noon to 6 p.m., are being linked with more obesogenic outcomes. This means these patterns can, paradoxically, contribute to the very weight gain they are supposed to prevent. In stark contrast, individuals who align their eating with their circadian biology tend to have better metabolic health and body composition outcomes. For women, this chronobiological approach is especially critical. The female body's hormonal systems are deeply intertwined with its circadian rhythms. When you wake up, your cortisol levels naturally peak about 30 minutes later, preparing your body for the day's activity. If you deny your body fuel during this time, you're essentially telling your brain that a stressful day has begun without the necessary resources. This prolongs the high cortisol state and reinforces a sympathetic or fight-or-flight drive. Eating a meal, even a small one, shortly after this natural cortisol peak helps to blunt this stress response and signals to the hypothalamus that energy is available. Therefore, the conversation should shift away from how long you can fast and toward how well you can align your nutrition with your body's natural daily cycle. Time-restricted eating, when practiced thoughtfully, supports the body's systems rather than fighting against them. Intermittent fasting, with its extended periods of deprivation, often creates a state of physiological panic for the female body. By understanding this crucial difference, women can free themselves from the pressure to adopt extreme fasting protocols and instead embrace a more sustainable and biologically appropriate way of timing their meals for optimal health. Engaging in a workout, especially an intense one, is a form of physical stress. When done correctly, it's a positive stressor, or eustress, that stimulates adaptation and makes the body stronger. However, when a woman performs this workout in a fasted state, the entire equation changes. Without readily available fuel, the body's primary response is to ramp up the production of cortisol. This stress hormone's job is to mobilize energy by breaking down tissues, including precious muscle, to provide the glucose the body needs. This immediately puts the body into a catabolic or breakdown state, which is the opposite of the anabolic or building state required for fitness gains. This elevated cortisol has a direct impact on training intensity. The goal of a high-intensity session is to push the body hard enough to trigger a beneficial hormonal response post-exercise, including a surge in growth hormone and testosterone, which help to build muscle and counteract cortisol. However, when a woman trains fasted, she simply cannot reach the required intensity levels. Her performance is blunted by the lack of fuel. She might feel like she is working hard, but she's unable to generate the peak power or lift the maximal weight needed to create that powerful adaptive signal. The result is a workout that increases cortisol without providing the hormonal payoff to bring it back down. This creates a vicious cycle of chronic stress. The woman ends her workout with elevated cortisol levels, and by continuing to fast afterwards, she keeps her body in this catabolic state for an extended period. This prolonged stress not only hinders muscle growth and repair, but can also lead to increased fat storage, particularly visceral fat around the abdomen, which is strongly linked to metabolic disease. Furthermore, this chronic sympathetic drive can disrupt sleep, impair immune function, and negatively affect mood. The quest for fitness through fasted training inadvertently creates a physiological environment that is hostile to the very adaptations being sought. The solution is to sever this harmful cortisol connection by providing the body with fuel before training. As we've discussed, this doesn't require a large meal. A small amount of protein and, if needed, carbohydrates is enough to signal to the body that energy is available. This simple act changes the entire hormonal response to the workout. It blunts the excessive cortisol spike, allows the woman to train at a higher intensity, and sets the stage for a more robust anabolic response post-exercise. It transforms the workout from a net negative stressor into a powerful positive stimulus for change, working with the body's biology instead of against it. Deep within the brain, the hypothalamus acts as the body's vigilant command center, constantly monitoring its internal environment to ensure survival. For the female body, one of its most critical surveillance tasks is tracking energy availability. This system is governed by specialized kisspeptin neurons, which are structured differently and are more sensitive in women than in men. When a woman consistently operates in a state of low energy availability, a mismatch between energy intake and the energy demanded by exercise and daily life, these neurons go on high alert. The brain interprets this energy deficit as a profound threat, initiating a cascade of protective yet ultimately disruptive downstream effects. The first systems to be impacted are those considered non-essential for immediate survival, namely the reproductive and metabolic systems. The brain, sensing a famine, begins to down-regulate the signals that control the menstrual cycle. The luteinizing hormone pulse, which is essential for ovulation, can become suppressed. This can lead to irregular cycles or, in more severe cases, functional hypothalamic amenorrhea, the complete loss of menstruation. This is not a sign of being lean or fit, it is a red flag indicating that the body is under severe physiological distress. Simultaneously, the signals to the thyroid gland can be dampened, slowing down metabolism in an effort to conserve energy, which can lead to fatigue, cold intolerance, and difficulty managing weight. This heightened sensitivity means that practices like intermittent fasting and fasted training are interpreted by the female hypothalamus as significant stressors. A study can show that after just 4 days of this kind of energy stress, a measurable dysregulation of thyroid function and luteinizing hormone pulse can occur. This is how quickly the female body responds to a perceived energy crisis. While some women may claim they have been fasting for years without issue, the question remains, at what cost? They may be operating with suboptimal thyroid function or a compromised endocrine system without realizing it, attributing symptoms like fatigue or moodiness to other factors. The body may be functioning, but it is not thriving. Therefore, for women, maintaining adequate energy availability is a non-negotiable aspect of health and fitness. This is not about overeating or calorie counting. It is about providing the body with consistent and timely fuel to match its energy expenditure. It's about sending a constant signal of safety and abundance to the hypothalamus. Eating a small meal before training and refueling properly afterward are not just performance enhancers, they are essential practices for protecting the integrity of the entire endocrine system. Respecting the hypothalamus's need for energy security allows a woman to pursue her fitness goals without inadvertently sabotaging her fundamental health. A pervasive and damaging myth within fitness culture is the idea that you must earn your food through exercise. This mindset frames food as a reward and exercise as a punishment or a transaction, creating a dysfunctional relationship with both. This is often seen in the practice of delaying post-workout meals, with people believing they need to extend the fat-burning window, or wait until they are deserving of their next meal. For women, this approach is particularly destructive. Following an intense workout, the body is in a catabolic state, primed for breakdown. Delaying nutrition prolongs this state, and the longer you wait, the more the brain perceives it as a low-energy crisis. The first tissue the body sacrifices in this situation is lean muscle mass. For women, building and maintaining muscle is already a significant physiological challenge compared to men, making every ounce of it incredibly precious. When a woman tells herself she will wait an hour or two to eat after her workout, she is actively telling her body to break down the very muscle she just worked so hard to stimulate. It is a completely counterproductive strategy that undermines body composition goals, slows metabolism, and hinders recovery. Reframing the post-workout meal not as a reward, but as an essential part of the workout itself is a critical mindset shift. The workout breaks the muscle down, the nutrition builds it back up stronger. The concept of a metabolic recovery window has been debated, with some research suggesting it is not as critical as once thought. However, this research is largely based on male subjects. When we look at female-specific data, a different picture emerges. A woman's metabolism tends to return to its baseline state within about 60 minutes post-exercise. For men, this window can be as long as 3 hours. This means women have a much tighter, more urgent window to get in post-workout nutrition to halt the catabolic process and initiate repair. Waiting longer than an hour means missing the prime opportunity to replenish glycogen stores and, most importantly, kickstart muscle protein synthesis. Therefore, women should prioritize their post-workout nutrition with the same diligence they apply to their training. The goal is to consume a significant dose of high-quality leucine-rich protein within 45 to 60 minutes of finishing a session. The amount varies with age, with women in their reproductive years needing around 30 to 35 grams, and women in perimenopause and beyond needing 40 grams or more due to anabolic resistance. This isn't about indulging, it's about providing the essential building blocks for repair and adaptation. By abandoning the myth of earning food and embracing the science of timely refueling, women can ensure their hard work in the gym translates into real, lasting results. For years, the gold standard for quantifying resistance training was based on a percentage of one's 1 repetition maximum. This approach, while effective, can be cumbersome and even dangerous. It requires regularly testing your 1 rep max, a process that carries a high risk of injury, especially with complex compound movements, and is impractical for most recreational lifters. A more modern, intuitive, and arguably superior method for auto-regulating training intensity is the concept of reps in reserve. This method shifts the focus from external percentages to internal perception, empowering the individual to tailor the workout to how their body feels on any given day. The reps in reserve scale is simple. It quantifies how many more repetitions you could have completed with good form at the end of a set. For example, if you complete a set of 8 squats and feel you could have done 2 more before your form broke down, you were working at a 2 reps in reserve. This method of gauging intensity is revolutionary because it accounts for daily fluctuations in strength, energy, and recovery. Your 1 rep max is a fixed number, but your ability to express strength on any given day is not. Reps in reserve allows you to adjust the weight on the bar to match your current capacity, ensuring you are always training in the desired intensity zone without being rigidly tied to outdated numbers. This concept works hand in hand with the rating of perceived exertion scale, which typically runs from 1 to 10. A 2 reps in reserve corresponds closely to an 8 rating of perceived exertion, meaning the set felt very challenging. This provides a powerful way to quantify the effort of heavy lifts. For women, especially as they enter perimenopause, lifting with true intensity is critical for sending the strong neuromuscular signal needed to build and maintain muscle and bone density. Using reps in reserve and rating of perceived exertion ensures they are consistently hitting that necessary intensity. It allows them to push themselves effectively, aiming for low reps in reserve, say 1 to 3, on their heavy working sets, which is where the real strength and power adaptations occur. This approach encourages women to train smarter. It moves beyond the idea of simply lifting to fatigue, which might involve high reps with lighter weight like 20 reps. a strategy that primarily stimulates muscle hypertrophy through metabolic stress, but does little to build maximal strength. To get the powerful central nervous system response that is so crucial for aging well, the focus must shift to heavy loads and high effort. By learning to use reps in reserve, a woman can confidently walk into the gym, assess how she feels, and select a load that allows her to hit her target intensity for the day, ensuring every set is productive and moving her closer to her goals. As women transition into perimenopause in their 40s, many find that their trusty old workout routines suddenly stop working. The hour-long spin classes or the 3-mile jogs that once kept them fit and lean now seem to yield little to no results, often leaving them feeling more fatigued and frustrated. This is not a failure of effort, but a sign that their physiology has fundamentally changed. During this life stage, the body becomes more resistant to the stimuli for adaptation. The hormonal chaos and rising baseline cortisol create an environment where traditional moderate-intensity exercise, often called gray zone training, becomes the enemy of progress. This type of steady-state, moderate-effort exercise just doesn't provide a sufficient stimulus to create meaningful change. It doesn't stress the system enough to trigger a significant anabolic response like building muscle or improving insulin sensitivity. However, it is stressful enough to contribute to the already rising levels of cortisol. So this is really a worst of both worlds scenario. You're accumulating physiological stress without reaping any of the rewards. This is why many women in perimenopause find themselves working out more than ever, but seeing their body composition move in the wrong direction, often gaining abdominal fat, which is directly linked to elevated cortisol. To break free from this pitfall, training must be polarized. This means that workouts should be either at a very high intensity or at a very low restorative intensity, with very little time spent in the middle. The high-intensity work is non-negotiable. This includes heavy resistance training, focusing on lifting loads that are challenging for 2 to 6 repetitions, and sprint interval training, which involves short, all-out bursts of 10 to 30 seconds of effort. These methods provide the powerful stimulus the central nervous system and muscles need to overcome anabolic resistance, build lean mass, improve insulin sensitivity, and manage cortisol effectively. The other side of the polarization coin is true recovery. This includes low-intensity activities like walking, yoga, or gentle mobility work. These activities help to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering cortisol and promoting repair and regeneration. The key is to eliminate the middle ground. A week's training might include 2 to 3 days of heavy lifting or sprint work, with the other days dedicated to active recovery. By abandoning the moderate intensity trap and embracing a polarized model, perimenopausal women can finally send the right signals to their changing bodies, allowing them to build strength, improve their metabolism, and navigate this transition with power and vitality. Caffeine is the world's most popular ergogenic aid, a reliable tool for boosting alertness and enhancing physical performance. For many, a pre-workout coffee is a non-negotiable ritual. However, for women, the relationship with caffeine is more complex, and it can be a double-edged sword, especially when combined with other common training mistakes. Caffeine works primarily by stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, the same system that governs our fight or flight response. While this can provide a welcome jolt of energy and focus for a workout, it also contributes to the overall physiological stress load on the body. When a woman combines caffeine with a fasted state before her morning workout, she creates a perfect storm for an exaggerated cortisol response. She is already starting the day with a natural cortisol peak. The lack of food is a second stress signal. The caffeine then acts as a third amplifier, pushing her sympathetic drive and cortisol levels far higher than they would be otherwise. While she might feel energized enough to complete her workout, she is doing so from a place of deep physiological stress. This can blunt her ability to hit true peak intensities and leaves her with a prolonged cortisol elevation that hinders recovery and can contribute to that tired but wired feeling throughout the day. This doesn't mean women must abandon caffeine entirely. The key is to use it strategically and mindfully. The complication arises from the combination of caffeine and an unfueled state. The solution is simple. Never have caffeine on an empty stomach, especially before exercise. By consuming a small amount of food, even just 15 grams of protein in a small shake, before or with your coffee, you provide the hypothalamus with the signal of energy availability it needs. This simple act helps to buffer the stress response, allowing you to reap the performance-enhancing benefits of caffeine without the significant downside of an unchecked cortisol spike. Furthermore, women should be aware of their individual sensitivity to caffeine and how it might change throughout their menstrual cycle or as they age. Some women metabolize caffeine more slowly, meaning its effects can linger longer, potentially disrupting sleep if consumed too late in the day. Paying attention to these personal responses is crucial. Caffeine can be a powerful ally in a woman's fitness toolkit, but only when used intelligently. By pairing it with fuel and being mindful of timing and dose, women can wield this double-edged sword effectively, using it to enhance performance without inadvertently amplifying their body's stress response. Crafting the perfect pre-workout fueling strategy is less about consuming a large, complex meal, and more about sending a precise, strategic signal to your brain. For women, the primary objective of pre-training nutrition is to communicate a message of energy availability to the highly sensitive hypothalamus, thereby preventing the catabolic stress cascade driven by cortisol. This is especially crucial for workouts performed in the morning, when the body's natural cortisol rhythm is at its peak. The ideal timing for this fuel intake is within 30 to 60 minutes before you begin your session. This provides enough time for initial digestion and for the nutrients to become available, effectively telling your brain it is safe to perform high-intensity work. Resources are plentiful. This small act of fueling is a powerful tool to shift your body from a potential state of stress into a state of performance. The composition of this pre-workout fuel should be tailored to the type of activity you are about to undertake. For a true strength and power session, where the focus is on heavy lifting with lower repetitions, the primary need is for amino acids to be circulating in the bloodstream. This helps to protect existing muscle tissue from breakdown, and primes the muscles for the repair process that will follow. Research from experts like Dr. Abby Smith-Ryan at UNC indicates that consuming as little as 15 grams of easily digestible high-quality protein is sufficient. This could be a small protein shake, a serving of Greek yogurt, or a few hard-boiled eggs. This protein-centric approach ensures you can hit the high intensities required for strength adaptation without needing a large volume of food that might feel heavy or uncomfortable. If your training session is geared more towards cardiovascular endurance or high-intensity interval training lasting up to an hour, the energy demands shift slightly. In this scenario, adding carbohydrates to your pre-workout protein becomes beneficial. The goal is to provide a readily available source of glucose to fuel the more metabolically demanding nature of cardio work. A good rule of thumb is to add approximately 30 grams of simple carbohydrates to your 15 grams of protein. This could look like a protein shake blended with half a banana or a tablespoon of honey, or a small bowl of oatmeal with a scoop of protein powder mixed in. This combination provides the quick energy needed to maintain performance and intensity, while still protecting muscle mass. It's essential to listen to your own body and find what works best for you. For someone who wakes up and needs to be out the door quickly, a liquid option like a pre-made protein coffee, a double espresso with protein powder and a splash of milk, can be an incredibly efficient solution. It delivers caffeine, protein, and a small amount of carbohydrate in one go. For those who have more time or prefer solid food, a small balanced snack is ideal. The key takeaway is to abandon the notion of fasted training. A small strategic investment in pre-workout fuel pays massive dividends in terms of performance, recovery, and long-term hormonal health, allowing you to train harder, get stronger, and protect your body from unnecessary stress. Just as pre-workout fueling is about signaling, post-workout nutrition is about rebuilding. The period immediately following a workout is a critical window for women to halt the catabolic, or breakdown, state induced by exercise and kickstart the anabolic or building process of repair and adaptation. Due to their unique metabolic response, women have a more urgent and condensed recovery window than men. Research shows that a woman's metabolism and blood sugar levels tend to return to baseline within about 60 minutes of finishing exercise, whereas a man's window can extend for up to 3 hours. This means that for women, timing is really paramount. Delaying nutrition beyond this 60-minute window means missing the prime opportunity to replenish energy stores and initiate muscle repair, effectively leaving the benefits of your hard work on the table. The cornerstone of this post-workout blueprint is high-quality protein. Protein provides the essential amino acids, the building blocks necessary to repair the micro-tears in muscle fibers created during training. However, not all protein doses are created equal, and the requirement changes significantly with age. For women in their reproductive years, roughly in their 20s and 30s, aiming for around 30 to 35 grams of protein within that 45 to 60 minute window is optimal. This dose should be rich in the amino acid leucine, which acts as the primary trigger for muscle protein synthesis. Good sources include whey protein, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, or chicken breast. This targeted protein intake is the most effective way to flip the switch from breakdown to building. As women enter perimenopause and menopause, their protein needs increase dramatically due to a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. The body becomes less sensitive to the muscle-building signals from both exercise and protein. To overcome this resistance, the post-workout protein dose needs to be more potent. Women in this life stage should aim for 40 to 60 grams of high-quality, leucine-rich protein after their workouts. This might seem like a large amount, but it's what's required to provide a strong enough signal to stimulate muscle protein synthesis effectively. A high-quality whey isolate protein shake is often the most efficient way to meet this target, but it can also be achieved with a larger portion of protein-dense whole foods. While protein is the star of the recovery show, carbohydrates play a crucial supporting role. After a strenuous workout, your muscle glycogen stores are depleted, and replenishing them is essential for future performance and overall recovery. The goal is to consume carbohydrates alongside your protein, ideally in a ratio of about 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 carbs to protein, depending on the intensity and duration of your session. This might look like having your protein shake with a piece of fruit, or having your chicken breast with a serving of sweet potato or quinoa. This combination not only refills energy stores, but also helps to lower cortisol and improve the uptake of amino acids into the muscle cells, creating a synergistic effect that maximizes your recovery and adaptation. A woman's menstrual cycle is not a liability to be managed, but a powerful biological rhythm that can be harnessed to optimize training and nutrition. By understanding the hormonal shifts that occur week by week, you can tailor your efforts to work with your physiology, not against it. The first half of the cycle, known as the follicular phase, begins on day 1 of your period. During this time, particularly in week 1, the early follicular phase, both estrogen and progesterone are low. You might feel a bit lower in energy initially, so this is a good time for lighter workouts, mobility, and skill-based work. As you move into week 2 and estrogen begins to rise, your energy, strength, and insulin sensitivity will increase, making this the prime time for peak performance. Week 2 of your cycle, leading up to ovulation, is your power phase. With estrogen climbing towards its peak and progesterone still low, your body is primed for high-intensity efforts and building muscle. This is the ideal time to schedule your heaviest lifting sessions, attempt personal records, and push yourself in high-intensity interval training. Your pain tolerance is higher, and your ability to recover is enhanced. Nutritionally, your body is more efficient at using carbohydrates to fuel these intense efforts, so ensure you are well fueled before and after these key workouts. Capitalizing on this high estrogen window is one of the most effective ways for women to make significant progress in their strength and fitness goals. After ovulation, around the middle of the cycle, you enter the luteal phase, which is dominated by the hormone progesterone. During week 3, as progesterone levels rise, you may start to notice a shift. Your core body temperature increases, you may retain more water, and your body becomes less efficient at accessing glycogen for fuel. This can make high-intensity work feel significantly harder. This is a good time to shift your focus away from chasing personal bests and towards steady-state endurance work, tempo runs, or resistance training with slightly lighter weights and more repetitions. It's about maintaining consistency and adjusting the intensity to match your body's current physiological state, avoiding the frustration of trying to force peak performance. Week 4, the late luteal phase leading up to your period, is when many women experience premenstrual symptoms as both estrogen and progesterone levels fall. This is a time to be kind to your body. You may feel fatigued, bloated, and less motivated. This is the perfect opportunity to schedule a deload week or focus on active recovery. Low-intensity activities like yoga, walking, swimming, or mobility work can help alleviate symptoms and prepare your body for the next cycle. From a nutrition standpoint, focusing on anti-inflammatory foods, magnesium-rich sources like dark leafy greens and nuts, and ensuring adequate hydration can make a significant difference. By periodizing your training and nutrition around your cycle, you create a sustainable, intelligent plan that honors your biology. The perimenopausal transition, typically beginning in a woman's 40s, demands a radical rethinking of her fitness and nutrition strategy. The fluctuating hormones and rising baseline cortisol create an internal environment that is resistant to change from moderate intensity exercise. To overcome this, the training plan must become polarized, with a strong emphasis on lifting heavy. This is no longer optional, it is essential. The goal is to provide a powerful enough stimulus to the neuromuscular system to counteract anabolic resistance and command the body to build and maintain precious lean muscle mass. This means prioritizing compound movements like squats, deadlifts, presses, and rows, and working with loads that are challenging in the 2 to 6 repetition range. This type of heavy resistance training should form the foundation of the Perimenopause Power Plan, aiming for 2 to 3 sessions per week. Alongside heavy lifting, sprint interval training becomes a critical tool. This involves very short, all-out bursts of effort, 10 to 30 seconds, followed by complete recovery. Activities like sprints on a stationary bike, a rower, or running uphill are incredibly effective. These intense, short sessions are powerful for improving insulin sensitivity, boosting growth hormone output, and managing cortisol levels, all of which are crucial for navigating the metabolic challenges of perimenopause. This high-intensity work sends the strong, clear signal the body needs to adapt positively. Fueling for this plan must be equally strategic and robust. The concept of eating like a grown-up becomes central, with a significant focus on protein. Due to anabolic resistance, the protein target needs to be higher to trigger muscle protein synthesis. Women in this stage should aim for a minimum of 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein at every meal, starting with breakfast. This consistent protein intake throughout the day provides a steady stream of amino acids to support muscle maintenance and repair. Furthermore, the post-workout protein dose becomes even more critical, requiring 40 grams or more within an hour of finishing a high-intensity session to maximize the anabolic response. The other side of the polarized training coin is dedicated recovery. The days not spent lifting heavy or sprinting should be focused on low-intensity activities that help lower cortisol and promote parasympathetic nervous system activity. This includes long walks in nature, restorative yoga, mobility work, and ensuring adequate sleep. This is not a time for junk miles or more moderate intensity cardio, which would only add to the overall stress load. By embracing this power plan, lifting heavy, sprinting hard, fueling with ample protein, and prioritizing recovery, women can take control of their health during perimenopause, building a stronger, more resilient, and more powerful body for the years to come. Once a woman has reached menopause, which is defined as 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period, the hormonal landscape stabilizes at a new low estrogen baseline. While the chaotic fluctuations of perimenopause are over, this new state presents its own set of challenges, primarily the accelerated loss of muscle mass, what we call sarcopenia, and bone density, or osteoporosis. The strategies developed during perimenopause, like heavy lifting and a protein-forward diet, don't just continue. They actually become the absolute cornerstones of a plan for long-term health, mobility, and independence. The absence of estrogen's protective and anabolic effects means that, well, external stimuli really have to take its place to preserve these vital tissues. Resistance training remains the single most effective intervention to combat both sarcopenia and osteoporosis. To stimulate bone growth, the training must involve impact and load. Heavy lifting does both, since the mechanical stress of the weights and the pull of muscles on the bones signal the body to lay down new bone tissue. The focus on heavy compound movements should continue with at least 2 to 3 sessions per week. Additionally, incorporating plyometrics, jumping exercises like box jumps or jump squats, can provide a unique and powerful stimulus for bone density, provided there are no contraindications like joint issues. This type of training is not about aesthetics, it is a direct investment in a strong, functional, and fracture-resistant future. Nutritional strategies must remain vigilant, with protein at the forefront. The high protein targets established in perimenopause should be maintained, aiming for about 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, distributed evenly throughout the day. This consistent intake is crucial for offsetting the natural age-related decline in muscle mass. Alongside protein, specific micronutrients become critically important for bone health. Ensuring adequate intake of calcium and vitamin D is non-negotiable. Many postmenopausal women may need to supplement with vitamin D since it's difficult to obtain enough from sun exposure and diet alone. Vitamin D is essential for calcium absorption, making these two nutrients a powerful team for maintaining a strong skeleton. Beyond the gym and the kitchen, lifestyle factors play a significant role in thriving during menopause. Managing stress through practices like meditation, mindfulness, or spending time in nature is essential for keeping cortisol in check, which is important for both muscle and bone health. Prioritizing sleep is also paramount, as this is when the body undertakes most of its repair and regeneration processes, including the release of growth hormone. Menopause is not an ending, but really a new beginning. By committing to a lifestyle of heavy lifting, strategic nutrition, and mindful recovery, women can defy the outdated narratives of aging, preserving their strength, vitality, and independence for decades. While protein, carbohydrates, and training intensity often take center stage, hydration and key micronutrients are the unsung heroes that support every single physiological process in the female body. Proper hydration is far more than just quenching thirst. It is fundamental to performance, recovery, and hormonal balance. As hormone levels fluctuate throughout the menstrual cycle and across life stages, so too does a woman's fluid balance. The rise in progesterone during the luteal phase, for example, can cause a slight diuretic effect and increase core body temperature, meaning hydration needs are higher during this time to maintain performance and regulate temperature effectively. Dehydration can lead to fatigue, headaches, reduced exercise capacity, and impaired cognitive function. A proactive approach to hydration is key. Waiting until you feel thirsty is often too late, since thirst is a sign that you are already entering a state of dehydration. Women should aim to sip water consistently throughout the day, paying close attention to the color of their urine. A pale straw color is a good indicator of adequate hydration. It's also crucial to remember that hydration isn't just about water, it's about electrolytes, particularly sodium. When you sweat, you lose both water and sodium. Simply chugging plain water can dilute the sodium in your blood, which can be dangerous. Adding a pinch of sea salt or using a well-formulated electrolyte supplement, especially before, during, and after a sweaty workout, is a smart strategy to maintain fluid balance. Beyond hydration, several micronutrients play particularly vital roles in female health. Magnesium is a powerhouse mineral involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body, including muscle function, nerve transmission, blood sugar control, and blood pressure regulation. It can also help with sleep quality and may alleviate PMS symptoms. Many people are deficient in magnesium, so focusing on magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and dark chocolate is important. Iron is another critical mineral, especially for premenopausal women who lose iron during menstruation. Iron deficiency can lead to anemia, causing profound fatigue and shortness of breath, directly impacting exercise performance and overall quality of life. Finally, the B vitamins, particularly folate, also known as B9 and B12, are essential for energy production, red blood cell formation, and neurological function. For women considering pregnancy, folate is critical for preventing neural tube defects. As women age, the absorption of B12 can decrease, making it an important nutrient to monitor. Creating a personalized plan is about seeing the bigger picture. It's about understanding that while the heavy lifts and the protein shakes are important, the foundation of your health is built upon these often overlooked details. By paying diligent attention to your hydration status and ensuring a diet rich in these key micronutrients, you provide your body with the complete support system it needs to truly thrive. We have journeyed through the complex and fascinating landscape of female physiology, uncovering the profound ways in which hormones sculpt a woman's experience with fitness and nutrition. The overarching takeaway is a powerful and liberating one. You are not a small man. This simple statement represents a monumental shift away from the one-size-fits-all, male-centric models that have dominated health and wellness for decades. It is a call to abandon the frustrating cycle of following generic advice that was never designed for your body. The science is clear that from your muscle fiber composition to your brain's sensitivity to energy availability, your biological blueprint is unique. Honoring this uniqueness is not about creating complication. It is about finding clarity and efficiency in your health journey. It is the new paradigm for female fitness. This new approach requires a fundamental change in mindset, from one of fighting against your body to one of working in harmony with it. It means viewing your menstrual cycle not as an inconvenience, but as a monthly roadmap that provides valuable clues for when to push hard and when to prioritize recovery. It means understanding that life stages like perimenopause and menopause are not endpoints, but transitions that demand new, more intelligent strategies to maintain strength and vitality. By listening to the subtle and overt signals your body sends, you can make informed decisions that support your hormonal health, rather than inadvertently sabotaging it with ill-fitting protocols like prolonged fasting or chronic moderate-intensity exercise. This is a move towards a more intuitive, respectful, and ultimately more effective relationship with your own body. The principles we have discussed are grounded in robust scientific evidence, moving beyond anecdote and into the realm of actionable biology. Understanding the role of estrogen as a powerful anabolic ally, the catabolic nature of progesterone, and the supreme sensitivity of your hypothalamic kisspeptin neurons gives you the why behind the how. It explains why a small pre-workout snack can dramatically alter your body's stress response, why your protein needs increase as you age, and why lifting heavy becomes a non-negotiable tool for longevity. This knowledge dismantles the myths and replaces them with a solid foundation upon which you can build a truly personalized and sustainable plan for health and performance that is resilient across all of your life stages. Embracing this paradigm is an act of empowerment. It frees you from the confusion and self-blame that can arise when popular fitness trends fail to deliver results. It validates your lived experience, the feeling that high-intensity work is easier at certain times of the month or that your body is responding differently as you enter your 40s and beyond. The science confirms that you were not imagining it. Your body was simply operating according to its own distinct set of rules. By learning these rules and choosing to play by them, you unlock the potential to achieve a level of strength, health, and well-being that was previously obscured by a fog of generalized, inadequate advice. To translate this new paradigm into practice, it is helpful to distill our learnings into a clear set of actionable principles. These do's and don'ts serve as a practical guide to help you navigate your daily fitness and nutrition choices, ensuring they align with your female physiology. At the top of the list, do fuel before you train. Abandon the myth of fasted training, which for women often leads to an exaggerated cortisol response, blunted performance, and hormonal disruption. A small snack containing at least 15 grams of protein before your workout signals safety to your brain and sets you up for a more effective, less stressful session. Conversely, don't delay your post-workout recovery meal. Aim to consume a protein-rich meal or shake within 60 minutes of finishing to halt muscle breakdown and kickstart the repair process. Next, do lift heavy things. This is especially critical as you approach and move through perimenopause and menopause. Heavy resistance training is the most potent signal you can send your body to build and maintain both muscle mass and bone density. Focus on compound movements and aim for an intensity that leaves you with only 1 to 3 reps in reserve. On the flip side, don't get stuck in the gray zone of moderate intensity exercise. Polarize your training by making your hard days truly hard and your easy days genuinely restorative. Chronic moderate-intensity cardio can elevate cortisol without providing a strong enough adaptive stimulus, making it an inefficient strategy, particularly for women over 40. In the kitchen, do prioritize protein at every meal. Consistent protein intake throughout the day provides a steady anabolic signal to preserve lean muscle mass. This is important at all ages but becomes paramount as anabolic resistance increases with age. Aim for a minimum of 30 grams per meal. In contrast, don't fear carbohydrates. Use them strategically. Carbs are essential fuel for high-intensity efforts and play a key role in replenishing glycogen stores and lowering cortisol post-workout. Time your carbohydrate intake around your training sessions to maximize their performance and recovery benefits rather than viewing them as an enemy to be avoided at all costs. Finally, do track your menstrual cycle and adjust your training accordingly if you are in your reproductive years. Use your high estrogen follicular phase for peak efforts and adapt your expectations during the high progesterone luteal phase. For all women, do prioritize sleep and active recovery as non-negotiable components of your training plan. Recovery is when adaptation happens. Lastly, don't blindly follow trends. Be a critical consumer of health information, always asking if the research and recommendations are applicable to you as a woman at your specific stage of life. This critical lens is your best defense against counterproductive advice and your most powerful tool for building a plan that truly works for you. While our discussion has heavily focused on the specifics of training and nutrition, achieving lifelong vitality requires a broader, more holistic perspective. The principles of honoring your biology extend far beyond the walls of the gym or the contents of your plate. True wellness is an interwoven fabric of physical activity, mindful nutrition, stress management, restorative sleep, and social connection. Neglecting one of these areas will inevitably compromise the others. You can have the most perfectly periodized training plan and a flawless diet, but if you are chronically sleep deprived and operating under immense stress, your body will remain in a state of alarm, hindering your progress and undermining your health. Managing your stress response is a cornerstone of this holistic approach. For women, whose bodies are so exquisitely sensitive to the stress hormone cortisol, this is not a luxury, but a necessity. The same sympathetic drive that is amplified by fasted training can be triggered by work deadlines, emotional turmoil, or simply the relentless pace of modern life. Actively cultivating the parasympathetic, rest and digest side of your nervous system is crucial. This means scheduling recovery with the same intention you schedule workouts. Practices like meditation, deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature, or engaging in gentle yoga can effectively lower cortisol and create the physiological space required for your body to repair, regenerate, and thrive. Sleep is perhaps the single most effective performance and recovery tool available to you, and it is completely free. It is during deep sleep that your body releases growth hormone, consolidates memories, and performs the vast majority of its cellular repair. Poor sleep quality or quantity disrupts this vital process and has a direct negative impact on hormonal balance, increasing cortisol and insulin resistance while impairing decision-making and mood. Prioritizing sleep hygiene, creating a cool, dark, and quiet sleep environment, establishing a consistent sleep schedule, and avoiding screens before bed is one of the most impactful investments you can make in your overall health, influencing everything from your body composition to your cognitive function. Ultimately, building a life of vitality is about creating a supportive ecosystem for your well-being. It is about recognizing that your fitness goals are inextricably linked to your mental and emotional health. It involves being mindful of your hydration and micronutrient intake, the unsung heroes that support every bodily function. It is about fostering positive relationships and a sense of community, which are powerful buffers against stress. By adopting this holistic view, you move beyond simply exercising and dieting and begin to cultivate a lifestyle that nourishes your body and mind from every angle, creating a resilient and sustainable foundation for a long, healthy, and powerful life. The path forward is one of profound empowerment, rooted in the knowledge that you hold the keys to optimizing your own health. For too long, the narrative has been one of confusion, frustration, and a sense of being at odds with one's own body. The information presented here serves as a new map and compass designed to help you navigate your unique physiological terrain with confidence and precision. You are now equipped with the understanding that your hormonal reality is not a bug, but a feature, a dynamic system that, when understood and respected, can be leveraged for incredible strength and resilience. This knowledge transforms you from a passive recipient of generic advice into the active architect of your own well-being. This journey of empowerment begins with self-awareness and curiosity. It encourages you to become a student of your own body. This might mean tracking your menstrual cycle to observe patterns in your energy and strength, paying close attention to how different foods make you feel, or noticing the impact of stress and sleep on your recovery. This is not about obsessive data collection, but about cultivating a deeper connection with and understanding of your internal state. It is about learning to trust your body's signals and having the scientific framework to interpret them correctly. This self-knowledge is the most valuable asset you have in crafting a health and fitness plan that is not only effective, but also feels intuitive and right for you. Share this knowledge with other women in your life. The myths we have busted are pervasive, and by sharing this information, you can help to change the conversation in your community, among your friends, and within your family. Empowering other women to understand their bodies creates a ripple effect, fostering a culture where female-specific health is no longer a niche topic, but a cornerstone of mainstream wellness discourse. It helps to dismantle the outdated, harmful narratives and replace them with a new standard of care that is evidence-based, compassionate, and acknowledges the biological realities of the female experience. Every conversation is a step towards a future where all women have the tools they need to thrive. The ultimate message is one of hope and agency. You are not destined to be a victim of your hormones or the aging process. You have powerful, science-backed tools at your disposal to take control of your health trajectory at every stage of life. By embracing a strategy of fueling properly, lifting heavy, training with polarized intensity, and prioritizing recovery, you can build a body that is strong, capable, and resilient. The path forward is not about seeking a quick fix or the latest trend, but about committing to a consistent, intelligent approach that honors your unique biology. This is the foundation of true, sustainable health, a journey of empowerment that lasts a lifetime.